What up, what up, what up? Good morning, good morning. It is your boy Jay Goble back at it again with you for Not Many Noble, reading the Bible through in 22 chronological order. It is February 19th, and we are on day 40, 19th, 50. Day 50. Look at us go. 50 in a row. Nice. Nice work in Leviticus 9:1 through 11:47 today, out of the World English Bible, which is a public domain translation that is pretty good. Pretty good. It's not bad. It's not bad. I like it. I normally use the ESV, but of course that is a one with a copyright. I like the New King James and the next, and then the New American Standard Bible, the NASB. Well, this one's all right. This one is all right. Leviticus 9. Here we go. Verse 1. On the 8th day, Moses called Aaron and his sons and the elders of Israel, and he said to Aaron, take a calf from the herd of a sin offering and a ram for a burnt offering without defect, and offer them before Yahweh. You shall speak to the children of Israel, saying, take a male goat for a sin offering, and a calf and a lamb, both a year old without defect, for a burnt offering, and a bull and a ram for peace offerings to sacrifice before Yahweh, and a meal offering mixed with oil, for today Yahweh appears to you. So on the first day of the week, interesting, the 8th day, it's going to be the first day of the week, Yahweh is going to appear to the people of Israel, which is quite a remarkable thing. The God of very gods, who spoke the universe into existence, who is uncontainable, is going to appear to his people. They brought what Moses commanded before the tent of meeting. Verse 5. All the congregation came near and stood before Yahweh. Moses said, this is the thing which Yahweh commanded that you should do, and Yahweh's glory shall appear to you. Moses said to Aaron, draw near to the altar and offer your sin offering and your burnt offering, and make atonement for yourself and for the people, and offer the offering of the people and make atonement for them as Yahweh commanded. So Aaron came near to the altar and killed the calf of the sin offering, which was for himself. The sons of Aaron presented the blood to him, and he dipped his finger in the blood and put it on the horns of the altar and poured out the blood at the base of the altar. But the fat and the kidneys and the cover from the liver of the sin offering he burned on the altar as Yahweh commanded Moses. The meat and the skin he burned with fire outside the camp. He killed the burnt offering, and Aaron's sons delivered the blood to him, and he sprinkled it around on the altar. They delivered the burnt offering to him, piece by piece, and the head. He burned them upon the altar. He washed the innards and the legs, and burned them on the burnt offering on the altar. He presented the people's offering, and took the goat of the sin offering, which was for the people, and killed it, and offered it for sin, like the first. He presented the burnt offering, and offered it according to the ordinance. He presented the meal offering, and filled his hand from there, and burned it upon the altar, in addition to the burnt offering of the morning. He also killed the bull and the ram, the sacrifice of peace offerings, which was for the people. Aaron's sons delivered to him the blood, which he sprinkled around on the altar, and the fat of the bull and of the ram, the fat tail and that which covers the innards, and the kidneys, and the cover of the liver, and they put the fat upon the breasts, and he burned the fat on the altar. Aaron waved the breasts and the right thigh for a wave offering before Yahweh, as Moses commanded. Aaron lifted up his hands toward the people and blessed them, and he came down from offering the sin offering and the burnt offering and the peace offerings. Moses and Aaron went into the tent of meeting and came out and blessed the people, and Yahweh's glory appeared to all the people. Fire came out from before Yahweh and consumed the burnt offering and the fat upon the altar. When all the people saw it, they shouted and fell on their faces. Wow. Now, there is no God like this, right? I mean, in the history of the world, mythologies, gods that are worshipped and taken seriously in world religions, there's not a God like this that claims to have done this and been witnessed by this many people. Our God is a consuming fire. He does it again. We've already talked about this before. We were talking about the bulls when Elijah and is battling, as his battle with the prophets of Baal. And God consumes the sacrifice by fire, kind of a throwback to this moment here. And also this promise, right, that this world, we saw in Genesis, that it's not going to be destroyed again by water. And the rainbow promise is that promise to us. Every time you see it, God is not going to destroy this earth by water. But the next destruction of this earth, when this heaven and earth will pass away, and then the new heavens and the new earth come, it's going to be done by fire, a consuming fire from God himself. And they saw this, and they shouted and fell on their faces. The people of Israel saw it. It was powerful, real, remembering, or rememberable is what I want to say. That's dumb. Like, they could look back to it and remember it. Don't you remember the time? And then they end up trading this God, right? They commit idolatry with other gods and start to bow down and worship idols, sacrifice their children to them. And it's like you had such power, or like you experienced such power. And I hate to keep harping on it, but like we do the same thing, right? Like we like, if I just had this, I would be faithful. If I just had this, I would be obedient. If I just had this, I would be so much more full of faith. And the answer is we wouldn't. We wouldn't. We wouldn't. Even if we saw God consuming offerings with fire from heaven, when the moment has passed, we would be tempted to return to our sin and unbelief. There are those who walked with Christ and heard him and then turned and followed him no more. And they saw miracles, real miracles happening in front of them. Like this, something supernatural occurring. Chapter 10. Nadab and Abihu, the sons of Aaron, each took his censer and put fire in it, and laid incense on it, and offered strange fire before Yahweh, which he had not commanded them. Excuse me. So far, nothing has been left to chance. Everything has been very, very specific about what you wear, how you approach, what you do, what you burn, what you don't burn, what you kill, what you don't kill, what you cut, what you don't cut, everything has been clearly laid out. What could possibly possess Nadab and Abihu to offer strange fire before Yahweh? There's a part of me that thinks they wanted their time to shine. I want my time to shine. Right? Like Moses and Aaron went into the tent of meeting, came out, blessed the people, and Yahweh's glory appeared to them. I want my time to shine, to do something awesome. I'm going to bring my creativity to this. I'm going to bring what I can do. I'm going to show the world what I can do. I'm going to let them see what I got. I don't know. I don't know why else they would possibly do this. I don't know. Verse 2, fire came out from Yahweh and devoured them, and they died before Yahweh. Like they had been specifically told not to bring false fire, not to bring strange fire, not to do anything else with anything of the incense, of the fire, of the sacrifices. Like it was clear. And the penalty were stated. Then Moses said to Aaron, this is what Yahweh spoke of, saying, I will show myself holy to those who come near me, and before all the people I will be glorified. Aaron held his peace. It's like, yeah, they shouldn't have done that. And sad, my sons are dead. What were they thinking? But they knew. It's not like they didn't know. Moses called Mishael and Elzaphan, the sons of Uzziel, the uncle of Aaron, and said to them, draw near, carry your brothers from before the sanctuary out of the camp. So they came near and carried them in their tunics out of the camp as Moses had said. That was verse... I've got so much to say. Maybe, well, okay, maybe not so much. I've got a little bit more to say, but I don't know whether I need to bring it up now or after the chapter. So let's finish the chapter and then we'll come back to this. Okay, yeah. Here we go. Verse 6. Moses said to Aaron and to Eleazar and to Ithamar, his sons, "Don't let the hair of your heads go loose, and don't tear your clothes so that you don't die, and so that he will not be angry with all the congregation, but let your brothers, the whole house of Israel, bewail the burning which Yahweh has kindled. You shall not go out from the door of the tent of meeting, lest you die, for the anointing oil of Yahweh is on you." They did according to the word of Moses. Then Yahweh said to Aaron, "You and your sons are not to drink wine or strong drink whenever you go into the tent of meeting, or you will die. This shall be a statute forever throughout your generations. You are to make a distinction between the holy and the common, between the unclean and the clean. You are to teach the children of Israel all the statutes which Yahweh has spoken to them by Moses." Moses spoke to Aaron and to Eleazar and to Ithamar, his sons who were left, "Take the meal offering that remains of the offerings of Yahweh made by fire, and eat it without yeast beside the altar, for it is most holy. And you shall eat it in a holy place, because it is your portion and your son's portion of the offerings of Yahweh made by fire, for so I am commanded. The waved breast and the heaved thigh you shall eat in a clean place, you and your sons and your daughters with you, for they are given as your portion, and your son's portion, out of the sacrifices of the peace offerings of the children of Israel. They shall bring the heaved thigh and the waved breast with the offerings made by fire of the fat, to wave it for a wave offering before Yahweh. It shall be yours and your sons with you as a portion forever, as Yahweh has commanded." Moses diligently inquired about the goat of the sin offering, and behold, it was burned. He was angry with Eleazar and with Ithamar, the sons of Aaron, who were left, saying, "Why haven't you eaten the sin offering in the place of the sanctuary, since it is most holy, and he has given it to you to bear the iniquity of the congregation, to make atonement for them before Yahweh? Behold, its blood was not brought into the inner part of the sanctuary. You certainly should have eaten it in the sanctuary, as I commanded." Excuse me. Aaron spoke to Moses, "Behold, today they have offered their sin offering and their burnt offering before Yahweh, and such things as these have happened to me. If I had eaten the sin offering today, would it have been pleasing in Yahweh's sight?" When Moses heard that, it was pleasing in his sight. So, yeah, there's kind of a lot going on here, right? But we'll get to what I wanted to talk about in a second. But let's get to this verse 17 real quick. He has given it to you to bear the iniquity of the congregation, to make atonement for them before Yahweh. That is something that we need, right? Let's go back. I know I keep throwing it back, but I don't want you to lose sight in the midst of all the specificities and all the stories and everything going on. There's the seed of the woman, there's the seed of the serpent, and sin carries the penalty of death, and bloodshed is required. And we're trying to get back to God, so the redemption of God, right? The redemption of the people back to God, atonement for the sin. And this is it. Bear the iniquity of the congregation to make atonement for them before Yahweh. And that ultimately is what Christ came and did. Bore the iniquity of his people to make atonement for them before Yahweh. That's it. To make atonement, to bring us back to God. To get us back to God. The seed that gets us back to God. That restores this relationship that Adam had in the garden, walking and talking with God. What's exactly it's going to look like, I don't know. But that's where we're headed. And that's what people are trying to do. You see them working this out in their own moralities, in their own idolatries. They are trying to atone. At one-ment, right? They're trying to get back to God. The thing that I wanted to talk about was the fact that God takes worship seriously, right? It's obvious when you read this story about Nadab and Abihu. You can't help but think, well, maybe they were boozing, because God says, hey, you're not allowed to drink wine or strong drink before you come in here. I don't know. I don't know exactly. It's just conjecture. We don't know. We don't know what was going on with Nadab and Abihu. We know that they offered profane fire, and we know that it cost them their life. Now, God is serious about his worship. The challenge I have is because I've heard lots of sermons on this, preaching, right, is that there's, and you stop me when I'm wrong, but I've heard pastors preach this sermon when they're talking about the regulative principle of worship, which is this: the worship that God desires is the worship that God requires, and that you can do what God has commanded and no more. And that's how you need to approach worship. The challenge is, what exactly does that look like? Like 3 hymns, 4 hymns? We're supposed to sing psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs. What do the spiritual songs look like? What does it mean? It's like the principle is there. I think the principle is clear. But then in application, sometimes we have a tendency of saying, hey, look, God is serious about his worship. Nadab and Abihu died because they didn't do it right. We're going to do it right. So that means we sing 3 hymns for the Trinity, 1 for the Father, 1 for the Son, 1 for the Holy Spirit. And we have to preach 45 minutes, and then we're going to sing another 3 hymns, and then we're out. And any deviation of that is a violation of the regulative principle, and God does not approve. You see what I'm saying? They start to take their own preferences and align it with it. And you might not be doing that. Your church might not be doing that. But I'm just warning you, just as a way of warning, that we don't do that. That we don't take our preferences and elevate them to this status and then say, God is serious about worship, therefore you need to obey my preferences. Because that's not it. Remember, Christ says, the time is coming and now is when the Father will seek those who worship in spirit and truth. Worship is not going to take place, in Jerusalem, on this mountain in Jerusalem, but instead the Father will seek those to worship in spirit and truth. So it's like that should be our goal, not making others adhere to our preferences. And that's what I wanted to say. That's what I wanted to say about that. All right. Now we get into Leviticus chapter 11. Yahweh spoke to Moses and to Aaron, saying to them, speak to the children of Israel, saying, these are the living things which you may eat among all the animals that are on the earth. Whatever parts the hoof and is cloven-footed, and choose the cut among the animals, that you may eat. Now, it probably shouldn't be as big a deal, because Peter had a vision, right? In the New Testament, we'll read that, where clean and unclean animals were both brought before him, and God said, it's very clear that, hey, you missed the point. You missed the point here. You don't need to adhere to this. But I think without that, we would still have arguments over this rules and regulations that we find in the Mosaic Covenant, and we'd say, hey, what part of this applies to us as believers, as Gentile believers, being the quote-unquote true Israel of God, the body of believers from all time. And again, if we go back to kind of the way that we're looking at the Bible, we learn that these things are pointing to Christ, and they served a purpose of maintaining a line through which the seed would come. That's what God is doing here. Not giving you a list of do's and don'ts that you can perform and earn your way into heaven, or be right with God, or look down your nose at other people, or say to yourself, well, the Bible says to do all this crazy stuff. No. The moral law encapsulated to 10 commandments, and the 2 great commandments, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, love your neighbor as yourself. That is your responsibility. That's it. All right. Let's keep going. Verse 4. Nevertheless, these you shall not eat of those that chew the cud, or of those who part the hoof. The camel, because it chews the cud, but doesn't have a parted hoof, is unclean to you. The hyrax, because it chews the cud, but doesn't have a parted hoof, is unclean to you. The hare, because it chews the cud, but doesn't have a parted hoof, is unclean to you. The pig, because it has a split hoof and is cloven-footed, but doesn't chew the cud, is unclean to you. You shall not eat their meat. You shall not touch their carcasses. They are unclean to you. You may eat of all these that are in the waters. Whatever has fins and scales in the waters, in the seas, and in the rivers, you may eat. All that don't have fins and scales in the seas and rivers, all that move in the waters, and all the living creatures that are in the waters, they are an abomination to you, and you shall detest them. You shall not eat of their meat, and you shall detest their carcasses. Whatever has no fins nor scales in the waters is an abomination to you. You shall detest these among the birds. They shall not be eaten, because they are an abomination: the eagle, the vulture, the black vulture, the red kite, any kind of black kite, any kind of raven, the horned owl, the screech owl, the gull, any kind of hawk, the little owl, the cormorant, the great owl, the white owl, the desert owl, the osprey, the stork, any kind of heron, the hoopoe, and the bat. All flying insects that walk on all fours are an abomination to you. Yet you may eat these, of all winged creeping things that go on all fours, which have long jointed legs for hopping on the earth. Even these you may eat: any kind of locust, any kind of katydid, any kind of cricket, and any kind of grasshopper. But all winged creeping things which have 4 feet are an abomination to you. I know what you were thinking. You were like, man, I think I'd probably pick the bacon over the crickets. Yeah, probably. Me too. By these you will become unclean. Whoever touches their carcass shall be unclean until the evening. Whoever carries any part of their carcass shall wash his clothes and be unclean until the evening. Every animal which has a split hoof that isn't completely divided or doesn't chew the cud is unclean to you. Everyone who touches them shall be unclean. Whatever goes on its paws among all animals that go on all fours, they are unclean to you. Whoever touches their carcass shall be unclean until the evening. He who carries their carcass shall wash his clothes and be unclean until the evening. They are unclean to you. These are they which are unclean to you among the creeping things that creep on the earth: the weasel, the rat, any kind of great lizard, the gecko and the monitor lizard, the wall lizard, the skink and the chameleon. These are they which are unclean to you among all that creep. Whoever touches them when they are dead shall be unclean until the evening. Anything they fall on when they are dead shall be unclean. Whether it is any vessel of wood or clothing or skin or sack or whatever vessel it is, with which any work is done, it must be put into water, and it shall be unclean until the evening. Then it will be clean. Every earthen vessel into which any of them falls, and all that is in it, shall be unclean. You shall break it. All food which may be eaten, which is soaked in water, shall be unclean. All drink that may be drunk in such a vessel, in every such vessel, shall be unclean. Everything whereupon part of their carcass falls shall be unclean. Whether oven or range for pots, it shall be broken in pieces. They are unclean, and shall be unclean to you. Nevertheless, a spring or a cistern in which water is gathered shall be clean, but that which touches their carcass shall be unclean. If part of their carcass falls on any sowing seed which is to be sown, it is clean. But if water is put on the seed, and part of their carcass falls on it, it is unclean to you. If any animal of which you may eat dies, he who touches its carcass shall be unclean until the evening. He who eats of its carcass shall wash his clothes and be unclean until the evening. He also who carries its carcass shall wash his clothes and be unclean until the evening. Every creeping thing that creeps on the earth is an abomination. It shall not be eaten. Whatever goes on its belly, and whatever goes on all fours, or whatever has many feet, even all creeping things that creep on the earth, them you shall not eat, for they are an abomination. You shall not make yourselves abominable with any creeping things that creeps. With any creeping thing that creeps. You shall not make yourself unclean with them, that you should be defiled by them. For I am Yahweh your God. Sanctify yourselves therefore and be holy, for I am holy. You shall not defile yourselves with any kind of creeping thing that moves on the earth. For I am Yahweh who brought you up out of the land of Egypt to be your God. You shall therefore be holy, for I am holy. This is the law of the animal, and of the bird, and of every living creature that moves in the waters, and of every creature that creeps on the earth, to make a distinction between the unclean and the clean, and between the living thing that may be eaten and the living thing that may not be eaten. So, that was it. That was Leviticus. I think... yeah, that's about all we got for today. So thank you so much for listening. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out. Share with your homies if you're digging it. I appreciate you. Show notes, notmanynoble.com, Facebook, Instagram. You can hit me up, JW Global Writer on Twitter. Oh, excuse me. And I need another cup of coffee. So I hope you have a wonderful day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.